Welcome to this week's episode of Courageous Leaders Changing the World. Super excited for today's guest, Candy, the creator. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So, name of the podcast is Courageous Leaders Changing the World. What's the time you've had to summon more courage than any other time?
I feel like that's a daily. Probably, oh, wow. I have so many moments. And I think with the rapid shift in my business, it's been one courageous leap after another. I can think of multiple times. I think the most recent time is just even with my current Australian tour showing up when I felt like shit was going south, investing in my current mentor when it was basically the last dollars that I had in my bank account, leaving my nursing career. Like, which one do we want to go into? It's constant. That's why I feel genuinely, I almost feels like every single day there's an element of courage required that I call upon to show up. So every day.
What's the one of those that you feel most edgy to share then?
Oh, that's a good question.
It is a good question. I do this a lot.
Yeah, that you do. There's no beating around the bush here.
Yeah.
The most edgy to share. I feel is, and this is potentially just because of the current thread that I'm in, is selling on stage. And that's probably the most uncomfortable position that I put myself in multiple times, that fear of rejection. And even though having that fear of rejection and it happening, of people rejecting or walking out of rooms, and I've had people leave my rooms because I'm too salesy or whatever story that has been thrown. Actually, you know what? The most courage I've had to call upon is asking someone to leave my room. Not even asking, telling someone to leave my room in a 3-day event that I ran. That's the one. That required the most discomfort for me to lean into, out of the fear of rejection of other people, having the past people pleaser, like, oh my God, what's this person going to think about me? What are they going to say about me? And knowing that for the benefit of not only myself, but also the people of the room, to actually ask someone to get out of my room. That would be the moment.
What did that bring up in you?
So much fear. I felt sick to my stomach. I remember feeling like my body shaking and just pretending like I was this cool cucumber. But I could feel like my palms sweating and could feel the tension in the room. It was a moment it was a 3-day event. It was on the second day, and this particular attendee had been battling me, I guess, creating a lot of tension in the room. And as you know, as a facilitator, you can read the room, you can feel people getting uncomfortable. And the dance of, okay, do I facilitate this person even deeper, or is that just going to blow up in my face? These are the thoughts that I had running through my mind, because I've had this person in my world, and actually this person had been a client of mine for almost 12 months. And it's like, fuck, like, I've had so many moments with these clients where we've gone deep into what's playing out and how to shift that. And now I'm being faced with the most amount of tension that in order to clear, it's either I let I give up in their eyes, or I just say, you know what? No, I've spent my time and my energy working with you, working with all of these things that are coming up. I've spent so much time and energy. There comes a point where I actually draw a line in the sand and say the room's integrity, my integrity of having that is more important than just making sure that you get your breakthrough. Because I've been in that space for long enough to be like, this isn't going anywhere. We've gone back and forth enough times. And I'm ready to actually hold the and say no. I'm not going to just continue to hold you in this energy for you to get a breakthrough, because it's disrupting the entire room. And I would prefer to have the entire room be in a cohesive energy for them to have their own breakthrough than continue to loop in circles with one particular person.
Mm.
So it's, do I choose the one person or do I choose the many? And I choose the many. So it was that feeling of, this person's going to fucking hate me and say all the shit about me. And they did. And they stormed out of that room calling me all the names under the sun. And I had to hold that. And even going on social media afterwards and calling me out, saying all this shit. I even also did a podcast on this a few weeks ago, and I had people message me who knew this person and was like, please don't contact her, blah, blah, blah. She's, in a mental institute now because of you. And it's like, okay. So that's that courage to lean in and just own that, cool, okay, this person's going to blame me for putting her in a mental institute. And I just have to be okay with that. Because I know that with her leaving, it created so much connection in the room for everyone else to have a breakthrough. And I think that's probably the most challenging thing that I've had to continue to navigate through on this journey, is being okay with welcoming the hate and the projection and the finger pointing. Because I never really thought, I kind of run my life a little bit in oblivion. I'm just I'm going this way and I'm not really listening to all the noise. And I never thought that stuff would happen to me. I was like, no, I love everyone. Woo. And then I realized that I actually trigger people, and people are they're like, I don't want to work with you because you trigger me, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what? I didn't even know that was going on. And it's so interesting. And when I reflect on that, I'm like, am I just so in my head, or so just on my mission, or just have blown my head up a little bit too much and think that I'm so great that I didn't realize that actually people don't like me. And so the fear of being rejected and having judgment has always played a part in how scary putting yourself out there and leading rooms and running rooms. And I think the bigger that I get as well, the bigger personalities I also attract. So the bigger the challenges become. So that's been a really interesting piece for me to navigate most recently. Mm.
Yeah. Have you seen the Hormozy video on this recently?
Which one? I've been consuming a lot of Hormozy recently, ever since he did his $1 million book launch.
$100 million book launch, yeah. So he's on the podcast with Logan Paul, and basically he's saying to Logan Paul, he's like, you're very, very hateable. You're white, you're tall, you've got beautiful skin, you've got a beautiful wife, you've got a beautiful child, you're very hateable. And Hormozy's like, and the one thing that shifted for him for it was recognizing, most people think, Jesus Christ is a good person. But, even he was crucified for what he stood for. So it's like, how can you actually live your life not expecting some level of crucifixion, some level of throwing rocks at you, some level of judgment, some level of someone hating you just because you stand for something? And when I saw that, I was just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. That reminds me of something that you said inside becoming the explorer, and you're doing this analogy, and I wrote it down because I was reflecting on your notes the other day. 'Cause I ran my Australian tour, and it's the first time I've ever had a model inside my slides. I was like, Cody would be proud. And I was looking at our notes from the event, and I actually wrote down and draw a little stick figure down the bottom. It's like, for as long as you pay attention to the people throwing the rocks at you, you're neglecting the people that are willing to throw money at you.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, yeah. It just was, it's one of those moments where you just randomly stumble across an old note of yours, and it's exactly what you needed to hear in that moment. That was that moment. I needed to hear that in that moment to be like, okay, cool. We're getting rocks thrown at us right now. It's fine, because on the other end of the spectrum, if I just like change my perspective, I just like pivot over here a little bit, there's so many people willing to throw money at me. So many people. And I just got to change, just look the other way and see that and receive that. So that's been a constant reminder for me, is just, okay, people want to throw money at me, but if I'm not looking or giving or paying attention, I'm going to miss the boat. I'm going to just continue to pay attention to these people throwing rocks.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting journey selling from stage. It's definitely the most fun that you can have with your clothes on, I think. It brings up all of your shit.
Oh, yeah. Fuck. Yeah. My last Australian tour, the one that I ran in June, I had this biggest fear. This was like the first one that I sold before lunch. And that's like, you got to sell before lunch. And I was like, oh, God, this makes me feel like I want to just crawl up into a ball and roll away. And I don't want anyone to see me. Like the courage and the initiation you have to lead yourself through to sell on stage. And I think some people, aren't just cut out for that shit. And sometimes I think the entrepreneurial journey is like that. The initiation that you have to self-facilitate through it's a massive game. Like, I can have such incredible mentors in my life telling me this is the best way to do it. This is how you do it. This is how you run it. Here's your strategy. But if I'm not willing to put myself and lead myself through the fiery gates of fucking hell, which is courage, then I'm not going to experience what's on the other side. And I got to do that in my last Australian tour, and Nat was like, you need to sell before lunch. And I'm just like, oh, but like, I don't need to warm people up first. Like, that's so uncomfortable. Come on. Just looking at me like, Candy, come on. I was like, fuck, okay. And my biggest fear, the interesting part was, and this links back to the first question that you asked around what was a lot of courage that you've had to conjure recently. And that was emptying my bank account to invest into my mentor, which I did a few days before that event, and then more than doubled my cash from that event. I was like, thanks, universe. The magic of courage. And then, so I had a great experience. That was my first time selling before lunch. I had a great experience. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And then the following weekend I went to Sydney and was faced with all of this fear come up. I was like, whoa, where is this coming from? Last weekend was a hoot. I had a great time. I was successful, and I could not get myself out of my own head of, you're a failure. People are going to think you're too salesy. Just battling with this, with the mind. And I remember the morning of Sydney event, I was sitting in front of the mirror just doing some mirror work, because I was like, I need to do something about this energy, because I can't lead a room and run my event feeling this tension in my body. So I was doing some mirror work, and I remember looking myself in the eye and just being like, I fucking love you. No matter what happens today, like, I know you're so scared that people are going to walk out and call you names and think that you're too salesy or whatever. And I just looked at myself in the eye and said, I love you no matter what. Like, we are literally born to do this, so go out and give it your best shot. And I did that. And I ran the room, sold before lunch, had lunch, and had people come in. There was about 4 people who came in, and they said to me, we're leaving. I think this event was just one big sales pitch, and it's really disappointing that, you know, you've marketed it this way around learning all of these things, and I feel like the whole day has just been you selling, and I think that's out of integrity. And then they left. And I FaceTime Nat crying. I was like, these people are calling me names. And it was just that fear that I had being thrown right back at me. And I've had this happen a number of times, that I've gone into something feeling that fear, being like, oh God, this would be the worst thing that ever happened. And then it happens. And it feels like shit for a hot minute. And then I remember getting back on stage in the afternoon, and I just shared, because there was a whole row that was missing. Like, it's like elephant in the room vibes, like this whole row that was missing. I was like, okay, cool. So we're going to address something. And I addressed the elephant in the room, and then was met with a standing ovation. And people just being like, we fucking love you so much. And that, I remember like just kind of kneeling down, crying, receiving the amount of love after I've been shown rejection, to then be met with so much love from the entire room. And it's those moments like that that just brings me back into like, this is why I do it. It's like, I'm going to get that always. But the love of being vulnerable in front of everyone, it just, I mean, no words, I'm sure you experience this too, like no words can just like explain or express what that feeling is like. So it's been a big journey of just constant rejection. And I feel like the whole entrepreneurial, especially as like facilitator and someone in the personal development space, it's always that facilitation being led, like self-facilitation, and just being okay to experience both worlds. And that's hard. Like, that's really hard.
What's most hard about it?
For me, I face a lot of like high achiever. I say I'm a chronic high achiever.
Not just a high achiever. You have to be a chronic high achiever. That's how high achiever you are.
Like chronic high achiever. And sometimes I think I'm addicted to the feeling of overachieving. And even though I've experienced those pockets of love, it feels like it lasts for like 10 minutes and then it's gone again. And so I think that's hard. Is for me learning that there's so much here for me to experience, but if I don't drop into presence, I'll never, no matter how much success that I have, I'll never actually be able to fully experience what I've created. And that's hard. And it's hard because I'm also consciously aware of it. And a part of me doesn't want to not have that, because it's got me to where I am, and I know it's going to be what gets me to the legacy that I'm here to create. It's like accepting the battles that come, like the mental battles.
Yep. It's pretty common. We associate achievement with love, and as soon as we associate those two things together, we perceive that if we don't achieve, we won't actually ever get any love. And, this is 95% of the guests that I have on, because it's like, if you're going to speak, if you're going to be someone who actually is willing to go on a podcast, you're probably on some level an overachiever, and you've associated those things together. And it becomes that unending journey of going on beyond the conditionality of your lovability. It's like you create all these conditions around it. When I get this level of success, then I'll be lovable, which is the long way to your lovableness. And that's definitely one of the things that played out for me. I used to, throughout all of my 20s, I was living my parents' life more than my own. What they would deem as successful. I was still speaking all over the country. I was speaking in the fitness industry at the time. So I'm speaking at all the top conferences and all of the things, running events in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. And my entire reality was like, right, well, if I do this, then my parents are going to be proud of me and they're going to love me. Like, hindsight's a great thing to recognize how that's really
not the case.
What's the saying? It's like you're putting the cart before the horse. It's like instead of the horse before the cart that it actually moves, it's like you put it around the wrong way that actually you just keep it outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And for anyone that like speaks and has a vision that they're here to bring to the world, it just becomes amplified because you take it so personally.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the difference between like a personal brand where you are the business, you are the movement, versus like a brick and mortar or product-based business that has its own entity. As for this, it's me. You either love it or don't.
Yeah.
And to detach from that relationship to it not actually being personal at all, actually. It's interesting you bring up about you speaking to wanting to create that love, that pride, feeling like you're making your parents proud. Recently, I was keynote speaking at an event and my mum came. It's the first time my mum's ever actually seen me speak. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my God. And because in the past I wouldn't want them to see me. Because I'm like, oh, what if I'm not good enough? So paradoxic. And I'm at a stage now, I'm like, no, I know that I'm good now. I want them to see me and tell me how good I am. Anyway, I was so excited. My mum came and afterwards we were walking out of the event and I was just like waiting for her to tell me how good I was. And she wasn't saying anything. She was talking about like the other people there and what she was like, her experience and the women that she met. And she was just, I'm like, you're talking about everyone else but me? Like, what about me? And so I had to ask her, I was like, so how do you think I went? And I'm expecting this huge, like, you were amazing. And yeah, you're just so amazing. And she's like, yeah, you were great, obviously. Like, I know that this is what you're born to do. And I was like, is that it? I actually was so hot. I was like disappointed that I didn't receive the praise that I thought I was going to get, that I've worked so hard to be seen by my parents and to get that praise. But for them, it's like, well, obviously, of course we're proud of you. We love you. If you weren't doing this, we'd still love you. But for me, I was like, oh, does that mean you don't love me? Like, what? Hang on a minute. I was confused and I was actually like disappointed because I wasn't receiving the level of praise. And then when I was reflecting, I was like, oh my God, it's like we create all of these experiences to receive praise. Like you said, as speakers or anyone in the entrepreneurial spaces where the high achievers, we're doing to achieve to then receive praise. Until you do those things and then realize you never actually needed to do them in the first place to receive the praise. And I don't know, like I would love to know your perspective around this. I'm like, okay, well, where does that leave me then? Because if I know that I'm truly loved, then do I just continue to be and do nothing? Or where's that driver? Because obviously that driver creates momentum to actually build something in the first place.
Yep.
And then especially if you end up in one of your rooms and realize that you are the gift and that everything is perfect, whole and complete and I'm loved, and then what's the next piece? And I've actually felt this after becoming the explorer afterwards. I'm like, well, if this is the case and everything is perfect, whole and complete, like, where's my driver? And feeling kind of like a little bit of the void. So I'd love to know, because this is going to also be great for me too. Because I'm like, what happens after that?
Yeah. I can give you the short version. The long version you'll get in visionary.
Oh. What a Cody response. God.
Well, it's true.
I have to wait months for that.
Yeah, I can give you the short version. So the short version is most people don't know what it's like to create from anything but desperation.
Mm.
So if they feel like they have to or they need to, that creates drive.
Yeah.
But drive is emotionally charged energy. And what happens is eventually you start to negate all of the little pieces that is desperate for you to be able to get something which you perceive as outside of yourself, all the neediness, which is like if you're needy in sales, what happens? People are repulsed by that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you actually keep things at arm's length. And the shift is when you've journeyed no longer needing that thing, then you can start to show up from a place of inspiration, which means that you don't actually have to force it. Results just come effortlessly because it's inspired. To inspire to breathe life into something. When you're inspired to be able to do something, then the energetic frequency of that creates effortless results rather than having to force things, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Mm.
And the neediness that plays out for people, you can only recognize in hindsight of how needy you were. Like you look back when you're a teenager and you're like, oh, fuck. I was needy as fuck. It's like a relationship ends and you're just like this level of like, it's like this yucky kind of want to engage back into the relationship, but like this yuck energy. And you only recognize it in hindsight. And all these little layers of neediness that play out in business just keeps things hard, keeps things as a struggle, keeps all the things at arm's length, because even when you receive it, then you don't actually receive it. You receive it physically, but you don't receive it emotionally.
Mm.
So the dance of that becomes how do you actually transcend that neediness? And that's the primary thing that we do in Visionary. And how do we create the ongoing journey of that before you come to Visionary or before anyone else comes to Visionary, which is the distinction of, where do you breathe life into things rather than try and beat a dead horse? How do you breathe life into a room? How do you breathe life into someone that doesn't want to change? Because it's an interesting thing that plays out, In facilitation, we call it terrorist control. That's the training that we run on having people like that in rooms.
Yes. I got the crash course of it. I was like, oh, fuck. No, it's like, this is called a terrorist. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah. I was like, okay, crash course. Let's go. Yeah. I think I hate to admit it, but I feel like that's how I run my entire business, is just crash course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the fast path.
Yeah.
If you want to do the slow, painful path, then it's like you sit on shit for ages.
Yeah. And that's funny because even sometimes I think that I'm like, oh, I'm still too slow.
Yeah.
Chronic high achiever thread there. It's strong.
Yeah.
It's strong. Mm.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So facilitating rooms and like terrorist control, first piece of that is for the listeners at home, if facilitating rooms, you got to recognize whether they're a terrorist or not. Or are they just someone playing out a specific pattern? Because often what will play out is is it a pattern for them? If it's a pattern for them, then there's probably some layers of it occurring subvertly or pervertly for other people in the room. So they do it overtly, you'll do it, other people will do it pervertly or subvertly. So they, you've got the people who fight externally, and you've got people that fight internally. And then you've got people who project things onto you pervertly, which is like the sexual energy. It's just like, I can never be as hot as Candy. She's too young. She's too sexy, blah, 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 blah. All of those kind of projections. So terrorist control is getting to the place of actually recognizing, are they actually a terrorist? And if they actually are a terrorist, you can't negotiate with terrorists.
Yes. That's was going to be my next question. Where's the...
There's a question that you ask, which is there anything that I could say or do to change your mind?
Right, that seems quite simple.
Yes. Is there anything that I could say or do to be able to change your mind with this? And if they say no, then it's like, that's okay. I love you. And that means the conversation's done. That means...
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it gets to that place, if there's something that you could say or do, then it's like, oh, okay, there's possibility. And the distinction as a facilitator is, how do you hold the highest level of possibility for someone regardless of their pattern? Like, I had someone in our visionary the other week, and they were they're energetically throwing chairs at me. People physically sometimes throw chairs at me.
You got an energetic chair this time.
Yes, I got an energy. Yes. And it's 6 days. So that's many days with someone throwing an energetic chair with you in the front row. It's not like they're at the back. In the front row, there's just like this energetic black hole over here, just closed off all of these things. Black hole. It just sucks all the energy out of the room into that hole, right? And anytime you throw to that person playfully,
daggers.
Yeah. So there's a paradox of all of it, which is recognizing, how do you hold the highest possibility for them while also holding the highest for the room? And that becomes the dance of it. It's the dance of recognizing, what's the highest possibility for that person to be able to stay in possibility while also then honoring the room. It's like, how do you honor them while honoring the room? Got food in my mouth. It was Zambreros, just in case you're wondering, listeners at home.
Zambreros. What's your order?
I get today I had a beef burrito, but sometimes I get lamb.
Just in the mood for cow today.
Yes.
Like, what do I want? Do I want a cow? Do I want a sheep?
Yeah. All of the animals for me.
All the animals.
Yeah, and that's the thing that most people don't recognize. Lots of people like to go and sit in the audience in rooms, and they have no idea what it is to actually facilitate a room and the depth that is required of that, because it forces you to be your edge unendingly. Because if you're not in your heart, then they can't be in theirs. And it becomes this very, very self-initiatory thing that is very difficult, because you want to enroll every single person that you're at your edge. But until you actually go to a new edge, it's like they don't feel it. One of the best books on this is called The Living Classroom by Christopher M. Batch. He basically says that, until you're at your edge, nothing changes in the room. All that you're going to do is you're just going to repeat patterns. And that is fucked as a facilitator, because, I can sell in countless different ways. I can sell in 60 minutes. That's always a fun one when you got 60 minutes and you got to go into someone else's room and then go and sell. It's like, all right, we're going to get everyone to run to the back room in 60 minutes. No rapport building in that, is there? It's just like, all right, cool. Boom, let's go.
What do you think the difference is between selling in 60 minutes to, would you call that a cold room, or a cold room to you because there's no connection there, to people who have been in your room for 3 to 4 days?
I think it's just a different edge, because when people have been in your room for 3 to 4 days, yeah, they're bought into your stuff, but you're not selling the entire time, meaning the energy of the room, each person is in a different place. So some people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. And other people got the energetic chairs throwing at you at the same time.
Daggers, yes.
And that was during the sales process in that event. So you've got the energetic black hole over here. You've got like a 7-figure business owner in the back of the room over here who's writing notes about their tours. And then on the other side, you've got another 7-figure business owner that runs tours, that writing notes for their tours and stuff like that. So you've got people writing notes more than like tuning into the pitch for them. And you've got this black hole over here. And then you're holding the potential of all of these different people. It's this whirlwind of energies like swirling around, and you're holding this thing of like, oh my God, you can do this and it's going to be amazing and it's going to change your life. And in Visionary, you'll see this. I do accents.
Oh, great.
So every part of the pitch is in a different accent. It is hilarious. So like I started doing that.
For this.
You can only do it when you're like, they've been working for a while for that, but it's.
So wouldn't recommend for a one-day event? No.
That's a back end room where you can start to do things like that.
Really fuck people up. Being like, what the fuck? Cody's talking like a pommy now? What is going on? Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to like selling from stage, you want to make it fun for you. That's the thing that most people mess up. Because if it's not fun for you, then it's too serious and then they don't feel your heart and then people just don't buy. It's like you might do all of the right things and you might get some sales, but they're typically not the best people.
Yeah.
Whereas, when you can, it's the paradox of authority and authenticity. When they can have you as the authority and they feel you and you can be at that edge for you and it's fun for you, then it actually creates way more sales than just getting all of the slides right.
Yes. That's something that I'm learning is the fun part. And I think that's just, I'm choosing to believe it's a natural evolution because I've had to initiate myself through so much fear to do in the room sales.
Yeah.
To get to a point where eventually it's like, oh, okay, it's starting to tip over now. The scale's starting to tip towards I can actually create fun out of this. And it's just been I guess, is that the journey? Is that the journey of just like, it's just fucking, like I'm asking for some validation here because I'm like, right now, like this is
You
fucked.
are valid. You are valid.
Because it's hard. Like for me, it's been one of the biggest things that I've come up against. And I think this may be like stereotypical, but as a woman as well, like asking for the sale. I've had to initiate myself through feeling capable to ask for a sale from when I first began, which was like a $400 investment, and feeling the same feeling of that, oh my God, my heart's beating. I can feel my heart in my chest. My palms are sweaty. Like I feel sick asking for this $400 sale compared to now when I'm in the room asking for thousands of dollars of a sale in front of an entire room. It's the same feeling. It's just gotten bigger. The audience has just gotten bigger. And that initiation, I feel collectively as a female who works with women, that's the biggest hurdle, is feeling okay to ask because we're great at giving. And I notice this in like all of my clients and even myself is like, cool, I can give. But then asking to receive has been probably the biggest initiation. And I feel like, that's just the hardest part is getting over that rejection to actually ask in the first place. And then when you do ask, and people are like, yeah, I'm going to pay you. You're like, what? I can still remember vividly that first sale that I made. Yeah. And people, it's just like handing over money and you're like, it's actually so easy. But it's the constructs of the mind that I've had to feel like I'm pulling apart brick by brick just to find at the root cause, like, yes, people do want this. And I just, as a woman, I feel like that's the hardest thing is actually asking. Do you see that?
Depends on the audience. So there's, in every audience, there's going to be collective patterns that are playing out, and the patterns that you run are going to be the ones that show up in the room to some degree. So if you're specifically working with women, then, you're kind of dancing around two of those things. It's asking for the things that they want, and then also fearing the rejection. It's like, that's the holographic energetic frequency of the majority of your rooms.
It's so interesting because I only clocked onto this a few weeks ago, is I actually fear the judgment, or not the judgment, but the acceptance of women. Yet I'm a women's business coach. And what I do is create, like, one of my highest values in my coaching world, in my business, is community. Because I felt like when I was first started creating my business, I didn't have a community of women who thought the way that I did, who had the same values. So for me, when I started coaching, that was a big pillar in my business, to create that community. And then it's like, oh, was it because I was needing and I was longing for that? It's actually deeper than that. The root cause is I actually want to feel like I belong in a space. So I created the space because I grew up with older brothers. Like, I've had males in my life always, especially older males, being the youngest of 4. And for me, I've been always around, like, my brothers and their friends. So I was like, oh, I can create connection with men so easy and feel like I can slot in and just be a boy's girl. But that fear of actually being accepted into a community of women is actually kind of scary, and I actually have more judgment around that. And I'm like, this is so interesting, because that's what I do, is create communities for women to feel accepted, because 99% of the time my clients have some type of sisterhood wound, and they create that love and connection to dissolve that deeper root wound of feeling like they don't belong in a group of women inside my spaces. And I just feel like this whole game of entrepreneurial, everything that we do is just, it's all wounds on top of wounds, root cause, needs and desires that we're just creating into a business, monetizing it and create it so other people don't have to experience it to the degree that we did. And it just continues to flip and swim around and do loops. Sometimes I just get it. I constantly, like, think about these things. I'm like, this is so whack. This is so whack. But then I continue to do it.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Because then as I'm continuing to create it and lead the movement, it's helping shift more people out of that fear of judgment, even though we have to initiate ourselves into the judgment first to then find the acceptance.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to being a human.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. The other piece that kind of plays out with it as well is, when we do something entirely new, we're completely oblivious to how it kind of works, but we, make it happen through sheer authenticity.
Yes.
And then the more that we then do that, the less authentic we are with it, because we think we know things about it, which actually takes us out of our heart. And, selling from stage is like a great example. The first time that you do something, the first time that you sell from stage, you put your heart into it because you've never done it before. But then if you have the exact same number of people in the same room, then the level of heart that you put into it changes, because it's not something new. So we don't put as much into it, so it means we don't get as much out of it. So then what do? We normally just go, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to grow the size of the room because then that's new. Or I'm going to change the offer because that's new. And we go through all of these changes, but then what happens is we actually just fall back into closing off just a little bit because we've done it before.
My God.
And the real growth.
I'm seeing my whole business trajectory in this story.
Yeah. The real growth is, how do you create that newness of that edge regardless of the external circumstances? How do you show up Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
I'm asking you. I want the answer.
How do you actually start to create that beyond? It's the same as, the overachiever. Overachiever is lovable based on certain circumstances. If I do this, then I'm lovable. I show up vulnerably if it's something new. But what we do then is we discount what is new. We discount the different souls that are in the room. We discount all the different people that are there. We discount the potential of each of those people. There are so many rooms where I remember I had this one room where I bombed the clothes, and Navdeep comes up to me afterwards. He caught up with me for a coffee, and he goes, "Bro, how do you feel about how shit your event went?" And I'm like, "Bro, I love you." And he walked away from that conversation investing $11,000 in a VIP day with me. And I said, "That's how I feel about the event. I don't give a fuck what happened in the event. I know me. I know that whoever's in that room works with me in the perfect timing, not just the intellectualization, the deep level of knowing of that in my heart, because how many people work with me after the event? How many people do work with me in 6 months, in 12 months, in 18 months? I will put my heart into it regardless of the external results, regardless of the external circumstances, and the degree at which I do that is going to determine the results that I get afterwards, because there's going to be results that happen in the room, there's going to be results that happen in the following week, the following month, the following year. And mastery is there's not an answer to this because it's going to be different for each of you, so don't ask listeners what the answer is because I can hear it in your head.
There's no such thing as how. Anyway, it's a false question.
Yeah, it is a question which presupposes that there is only one pathway.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
So going beyond the external circumstances to be able to recognize that. And I forgot what I was saying. What were we talking about?
The how to create that heart.
Yeah.
With everything.
How do you put your heart into it regardless of the external circumstances, regardless of when you're used to running 100-person rooms and there's 3 people in that room? How do you go beyond the external reflection of what's playing out so that you actually show up in that room? How do you do that? Which really comes down to just choosing to do that. How do you choose to be able to show up regardless of what's playing out? I recognized I had a pattern in my business. I was running, we've been running Visionary for maybe 2.5 years, maybe 2 years and 3 months-ish. And I recognize in my mind, there's the people that don't show up to the calls that are too busy kicking goals, and there's people that are on the calls every single time that are looping in their shit. And I'm like, okay, cool story, bro. Cool story. How much are you showing up for these people? And it became season 2 of Visionary. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to show up to an entirely different degree beyond what I've been showing up previously, because I know that then at least one person will start to show up differently, even if it's only one. Even if I've already got this container of all of these people that have worked with me for a long period of time, if only one of them changes, then it becomes worth it.
What do you mean you created season 2? Because I actually noticed that in this Visionary thing. It was season 2.
Yeah.
Did you keep the same people who were in the old?
Yep.
But you just, was it your energetic? You were energetically being like, all right, season 2.
Yep.
And you just shifted what you were.
And this plays out, it can be that or it can be tours too. It's like, do you show up with the same energetic frequency you do for the first city, the second city, the third city? I remember we were doing, it's interesting when you do a tour, the city that you start with, because that it can set the tone for it all.
I feel like every city, every tour is completely different. So I've just given up on being like, oh, Sydney's like this, Melbourne's like this, Gold Coast is like this. Every fucking time is different.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. And the piece of it is I remember this time we went to Melbourne, and it was the first time that we went back to Melbourne after COVID. And all of this shit kind of falls apart. You're going to a venue that you've never been before, and there's this big, huge pillar in the middle of the room, which means that the energy doesn't move the same as it normally does, which means that your sales process and how the energy moves is completely fucked. And then all of the microphones don't work, and you've just gone all the way down here. You've done all of these things, and then some people can't find the venue, and all of the things are falling apart. And I remember running that event, and I was like, all right, most things that could fall apart are falling apart. And, oh, fuck, I remember. We had a terrorist in that room too. I forgot about that. Of course. This one person is literally yelling at me, arguing with some of the things that I'm saying. And I'm just like, so when you've done it a lot of times, then I know how to elegantly have people leave in the breaks. So people don't come up and tell me that they're leaving. They just let themselves out because of the way that I do it. It's a bit of fun. So this guy's like literally arguing with me, and I'm like framing him out of the room so that as soon as we have a break that he leaves. And hilariously, he didn't that time, which was funny. He stays, but he actually like starts to come down.
Oh, he didn't leave?
Yeah, no, he didn't leave. The person beside him left.
Wrong person.
Wrong person. So I'm doing this event, and like everything's like falling apart. And I'm like trying to yell because I'm pretty sure I was sick that time as well, and I don't have a microphone, so I'm doing all of these things. And then eventually it gets to like the pitch, and I innately just know who the buyers are, and like none of them are on that side of the room where the terrorist is. They're all over here. So I basically just start pitching to the front row, and then I'm selling like all of the people in the front row and forgetting about everyone else because I'm like, those people, they're gone. That's okay. But these people, they're going to buy. And they're going one by one, going to the front of the room. And I recognized through that, I was like, even with all of the chaos, even with everything falling apart, even with all of those things, I recognized it was my edge to connect with the people just in the front row here on an even deeper level and go where the energy was going because they were actually working with me the entire time rather than over there where it's like black hole energy in each of those things. Because as soon as you start pitching, then, some people are automatically out of the room energetically. Other people are like with you. And it was such an inflection point for me to be able to go, speak to your people. I was like, speak to your people. If you've only got 3 of your people in the room, everything opens up. And that's one of the things that happened in our last event as well. I was like, literally, there's like all of these people. It was hilarious. There's the back row bandits over here, which are the overachievers. And then the people over here on the other side were all of the underachievers. So it's like all the people that are shaming and guilting themselves all the time for personal development, all of these things, they're on this side. And then the overachievers are over here.
Isn't that so weird how it just always plays out in every room?
Yeah.
Just the energetics of just people energetically clustered together.
Yeah.
And it'll be like so heavy on one side and it'll be like gaffy over here.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the Melbourne event, I recognized that. And in that event, I was like, these are my people over here. It's like some of those people are going to work with this. And if I keep speaking to them, then I'm going to be enrolled in all of their patterns, all of their fucking bullshit, rather than recognizing these are my humans over here that are going to make the massive shifts in the next few years. These people, long-term people, it's like they're going to make shifts, but it's going to be a slow burn. And it becomes a new level of authenticity of recognizing, all right, I'm putting my heart out for these people and the patterns that they're playing into, not these people. Because if these people shift, then the whole room shifts because they start to elevate. Because normally what happens with people that are potentially can join on payment plans, they're going to join when high-level people see like they're getting the attention. And, most people aren't going to recognize all of the subtleties of what plays out with these things. But when people start to sell from stage, all of the intricacies start to matter. All of the little pieces matter. So what would you say to someone, you've got a dream client listening to this and they're like, oh my God, I want to be like Candy. What would you say to them?
they wanted to be like me.
Yeah. Because, in coaching, there's different reasons why people want to work with people. And one of them is they want to be like the person.
Yeah, that's a concept I haven't accepted yet.
Interesting.
So I don't see, it's only actually been brought into my attention like very recently of people being like, oh, I want to be like Candy. Because I guess like the way that I work with my clients, it's got nothing to do with the blueprint or the strategy that I give you. It's everything to do with what I can activate within you, because I believe that we're given a soul code that we're born with, and it's the moment that that's activated within each individual person that will create the drive, the momentum, the action, the decision to create that. So, and this is why I talk about, I guess, like with strategy and business and stuff like that. Cool. Strategy's great. But if it's not, like if you're not leading from the soul or what's actually within you, it's only either going to, one, get you so far, or it'll get you to a point where you'll burn it all to the ground because it was never in alignment in the first place. The fastest way for me that I've led has been always from the soul, what I'm doing, what I'm creating. I don't even think I've ever used a strategy. I probably have subconsciously, because I've just consumed it from all the people and the mentors that I intentionally put myself around to learn from. But it's not like I've ever paid someone to give me a strategy. I paid people to help activate a part of me, because I know that that's all I need is to have that spark lit, and I will move and I'll run. And so it's interesting for me, that concept has never really been something that I've been aware of people looking at me being like, oh, I want to be like Candy. Because with my clients, I don't want them to be like me, because that's not the whole point. If you're going to work with me in my mentorship and come to my rooms, it's for them, it's for you to get that peace, so you can then go and create the thing that's in your heart, in your mind, in your soul. So to answer that question, I would say, like, what is it within me that you desire or you admire, and go find it within yourself first, because that will give you the fuel to start building the fire. And from there, you can launch the fucking rocket ship to the moon and back. And it's interesting. I've been doing follow-up calls from my event, just asking for, like feedback. What do you enjoy the most? What was a big takeaway for you? And 99% of the time, it's your confidence, your energy. Like, I just love being around you, and I love being in your space. And I just seeing you do your thing is like, wow, so amazing. And for me, I don't see that. I don't see that. Like, obviously I know that I'm confident, but I don't see that as the thing that people come to me for. Actually, someone in the room was like, I want your money codes. And I was like, that's new and that's fucking cool. I was like, whoa, okay, sick. But most of the time it's like, I know that recently I realized that's my unfair advantage is my visibility code. So being able to be seen for my work, or I guess it is a confidence piece, right? Like having the confidence to be seen. And yeah, I think that was just such an interesting thing, is because I don't see that within myself, that that's actually my superpower. And I guess that's the whole thing of usually, I guess that's an interesting thing about being a leader, is the unfair advantage that you have and that you're born with is usually something that you don't really recognize. Well, something that I haven't really recognized is actually my superpower until it's being reflected back to me about why people come into my room in the first place. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I'm creating this experience for the people and for my audience and for the masses, for them to help expand and scale their business and scale their social media and scale their brand. And it's got nothing to do with what I'm giving them, but everything to do with what they receive by being in my space. And so my answer to that question is it's whatever the audience sees within me is about finding that within themselves and activating it. Because that piece of me that they admire has been just a singular piece that's allowed me to continue to move forward and drive without really having sometimes any idea how I'm getting to the next step. It's just like, okay, cool, this is what we're doing now, and just making that decision, then moving and leveraging off my authenticity, my energy, my essence. Everything that I do in my business, like I look at my business and I'm like, this makes so much sense. And I fucking love it. And I didn't realize that it is really different and authentic, and pretty much until this tour. And I know Nat says to me all the time, like, no one's doing what you're doing in the industry. And I'm like, I kind of guess that's why I created it, is because I didn't have it when I wanted to and when I was growing. So I created it for myself, but then for others. And it's so interesting. That's why I always tell my clients, like, everything that you desire to create, you already have the answers for within. It's just actually about being in a room or a position or being led or being held by someone who can create the spaciousness for you to put the mirror in front and see that it's within, to then spark that internal light as the driving force and the driving factor. It's like, as you would know, working with Nat, she doesn't give me any strategic answers. Maybe 1% of the time, if I'm like, please, can I just have this? But it's all self-led. It's all framing. It's all, okay, we're going to guide you to get this answer yourself. And that's the transformational piece.
Mm. Love that. I think that's the perfect thing to wrap up on.
Mm.
What's the best way for people to be able to find you?
Instagram. So find me on Instagram at KennyTheCreator_. All of my handles are Kenny the Creator. That's pretty much everything's on there. I've recently started doing TikTok, which is a bit rogue. It's kind of just like my rogue opinions. It's been fun. It's been great because I got so burnt out of doing content on Instagram, because obviously that's my primary business. It's what I teach. It's what I do. It's everything for how I built my business, and I got over. It felt so mundane. And also being a manager, and I was like, what's something new I can do? And so I started creating content on TikTok. So that's fun if you just want to see my rogue opinions. That's on TikTok. That's fun. Yeah.
Epic. Thank you. This has been fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it.